Hi guys, it's Andy. Join me today as we explore the abandoned Sleighton Farm School for Girls, a juvenile detention facility located in Glen Mills, Pennsylvania, not far from my house. Let's check it out and see what's left. I'm going to send up the DJI Spark drone to take a look at the place. If you look across the street on your left, you see some small houses. These were part of the property also. Built in 1909, it stood until 2001. 93 years, Sleighton Farm School was here on this property. It sat abandoned for 17 years. The stone building's on 350 acres. William Penn originally deeded this property to William Henry Sleighton back in the 1600s. Once secluded and rural, it now sits on the doorstep of suburbia with a county park right next door. I've been here a few times in the past, and with over 20 buildings, 9 dormitories on the main campus, the area is sprawling, a great place to explore. First building we see is this John Sargent Administration Building. I'll bet it was John Sargent and John Law too inside this building. There were 9 dormitories originally built. They called them cottages, along with a greenhouse, extensive offices, workshop, a big barn, and some other farm buildings. Let's check this one out. This here hellhole started out as the House of Refuge in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Back in 1826, the Quakers formed it with help from the Pennsylvania Prison Society. It was used to handle juvenile offenders differently. Then in 1906, they were dissatisfied with the abuse in Philadelphia. What kind of abuse? Sexual abuse, overcrowding, delinquency. They decided to move the kids out here into the country. So, in 1909, construction began. The Sleighton girls, all cleaned up, moved out of the city along with the boys. Nearby Glen Mills Boys School, the boys department they called it. That school operated until 2018, when it was shut down among scandal, both sexual physical abuse from the staff against the students. Let's head in this basement window of the Lincoln Cottage, one of the first cottages on the east side. Of the 9 dormitories originally built by Cope and Stewardson back in 1908, only 11 still stand. This old van, along with lots of graffiti, that's what's inside this building. These buildings, designed in 1908 by a Philadelphia architectural firm, popular in the time, Cope and Stewardson. They had designed buildings for Princeton and Villanova. Next, follow along as we check out the chapel. This Gothic building, awesome, built in 1965. Most of it was built with donations, some of it with a large $140,000 donation from a local family after their mother, who had been a Sleighton schoolgirl, passed away. Call them what you want, but the girls of Sleighton School were well-rounded. This chapel was the official worship spot of the school. school, they had a thought, spiritual well-being. That's what they were hoping for these girls. But as you can see, other things happened. Vandals have hit this place really hard. The decaying remains of the 300-person chapel sit here in disrepair, the site of many a satanic ritual by visitors and vandals alike. One of my favorite places on any explorer is the powerhouse. This one is no different. Located next to the water tower, which is still very intact and climbable, 20,000 gallons strong. Inside the power plant, switching, electrical components, all that is still there. Most of the shop equipment, it's all still in there too. It's always amazing that this stuff has not been destroyed by vandals. The water for Sleighton School was supplied by 2 giant pumps located down the valley along Crum Creek. Water was important to these schools and facilities. You had to have water to support the people. Everything is still there. These are the 2 pumps that powered it from 1900 to 2001 when the place shut down. That's a long time for a pump to last. After a quick stroll through the overgrown underbrush, we come up to the Mott Cottage. This cottage, dormitory, call it what you will, this was the first stop for most of the girls entering Sleighton. Girls that had been sent here from the courts, sent here from the state, sent here from wherever. Whatever the reason that brought them here, they were all here together. Wards of the state, Juvie Hall, the farm school. The girls were not happy, that's for sure. These poor girls, many of them ages 12 to 18, some as young as 11. There were reports of them coming in here with 1-year-old, 2-year-old kids. They were called at-risk youth. They were sent here to be retrained and re-educated. Inside these buildings, there's always great graffiti, quips, all their personal material still left. The buildings are spectacular, a true piece of history. The cafeteria, the dining rooms, the food they ate, the plate they ate everything left behind. Civil defense area, the crackers they would have eaten if the bomb had gone off. These 1- and 2-story dormitories designed for 360 girls. Single and double occupancy, their showers, their hallways, everything they would have done, how they would have lived, it's all still here. Check it out. Could you have lived here? Would you have lived here locked in your room? The light switches were on the outside of the room, so your keepers were turning the lights off for you at night. Not too bad a place, huh? Stay in school, kids. You could still make the honor roll. You could still get your report card and your GED and your diploma. All that. It was like a big, large farm family for girls that didn't grow up on a farm. Then, in 1970, the boys came. The records show that due to some mismanagement by the administration, the number of girls had dropped to 24. When they let the boys in, it soared to 201 immediately. With those boys came a new gymnasium, built in 1975. Along with that gymnasium and boys came sports fields, ball fields, baseball, basketball, a football field, tennis courts, basketball courts. All those things showed up. Along with those, there was also games, pinball, pool. These arcade games that you see, these things fell to the wayside, wasted away. And do me a big, go ahead and smash that like button. I grew up not far from here. In the basement of this dormitory, the remnants of video games and other games designed to keep these kids occupied. I'm not sure if it worked all the time, because I've heard some stories. I remember hearing stories of my friend telling me about coming up here back in the 70s to pick up girls that they knew. These girls, they said, were bad girls. And they'd sneak out of the dorms and they'd take them to the drive-in on 202. Wild girls they were. Boy wild. And I've also heard reports that they weren't just boy wild, they were just plain horny. There were reports of homosexual outbreaks between the girls with the staff watching on. You had to be careful in the locker rooms, the showers. You never knew what was going to happen. Next, I want to check out this cool workshop. This is where the girls would toil all day long. In the 70s, they worked here, they worked in the kitchen, or they worked in classes learning their vocations. Often, the things that they were making were religious icons or had something to do with the holidays or nature, things that were wholesome for the girls. Most of this stuff is still left in here. You see what I found? Old Chevy dash, car parts. You never know what's going to be left in these places. Now we just came across campus. I think this is the Lincoln Building. Most of these were named for presidents. Story has it that inside this dorm, a girl died. Apparently she was smoking cigarettes in her room and went to spray deodorant to mask it, caught the room on fire, burned to death while screaming for help. No one heard her. No one came. Wait, what? You believe that story? Take a minute, comment below if you believe that story or if you got a story of your own to tell about Sleighton Farm School. If horrific stories like these interest you, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and smash that notification bell so that you can keep up to date on all these stories. Now let's check out the Gray Trent Educational Center. I've been inside this building quite a few times. It's loaded with history. The building, a classroom, was originally a barracks for the Army during World War I. It was transported to Sleighton by truck. Yet signs of love. The inside had an automotive lift for car repair. When I first checked this out a couple years ago, the lift was still in there. It's gone now, subject to vandals. Inside this building were workshops, automotive repair, beautician, barbershop, computer repair, industrial sewing, home ec, cooking, and other crafts. With the things left behind are the stories, the artifacts, the horrific tales of what happened here. One story is about 11 girls who came here after a coal mine collapsed. The cave-in happened in Williamsburg, Pennsylvania. The girls were sent here all at once. 11 of them came. Many of them wrote letters describing the horrors that happened here, in the dungeons, in the basements. In the basements of the dormitory buildings, were solitary confinement for girls who were bad, girls that had tried to escape, girls that didn't follow the orders. The nuns that ran the place, they were as abusive as the men that worked here. The girls cowering all the time, never know what was coming next. Others, they remember Sleighton differently. They remember great educations. They remember feeling safe. They remember friends and learning skills that they would take with them their whole lives. As we look back on our journey today, the things we've seen, the stories we've heard, I wonder how long this will last, how many more people will get to see this before it's all gone. If you enjoy these things, follow along as we explore history and take adventures into the unknown.